Ugh, what an ugly car. 56 Chevy, two-door, LS swapped. So, this car we had on the channel a few weeks ago, it's 56 Chevy, I got locally, and it's all, road ready. And of course it needed a bunch of work, and honestly I just got it because it was a Tri-5 Chevy. I'm an idiot. I love these things. It was a decent deal for what it was, end of the year kind of deal, so I couldn't pass it up. And honestly, I was waiting on parts to do that little Chevy too, which you've been hopefully watching all those videos. I really appreciate if you have been. So in the course of, I think, just 3 or 4 videos, we brought it home, two-doored it, and that was about it. Kind of gave it a quick once over. I knew what it needed. So it is a quote-unquote two-door. The panels are just tacked into place. I'm pretty sure what I'm actually going to do on this thing is kind of clean it up, and we're going to leave it exactly like this. We'll weld it, we'll show it scars, we'll do it all so people will see it. I've had a lot of comments about my stuff in the past where I show everything warts and all. That's what this one's going to be. So we're calling it the Rotten Banana, maybe? I forget what it was. Anyways, but she's rough. So today, we're going to get a few things done. I'm going to weld all this together. That's going to be a very time-consuming and boring process, but we will get that taken care of. It's actually not terrible. It'll just be kind of around there. This one's going to be a bit of a hassle. You got to really take your time on that so it doesn't warp and go all goofy. This shouldn't be too bad because it's, double wall there, so it's pretty thick. But before we do that, it runs horribly. So what it does is it'll idle okay and kind of putski around okay. Second you give it any RPM, it just falls on its face and boom, it's like running out of fuel. Now, I've done a little bit of research on it, done a little bit of looking around. Now, I'm not an LS guy, as you guys probably know based on all my, junk I have. But I did hook it up to a scanner, brought one home from work. Didn't really show any codes, which is weird. I think we went over that a while ago. So it's a 99 5.3 with a turbo 350. So I was playing with it. If I spray brake clean right and down its throat, it'll RPM up no problem. So it's clearly just not getting fuel. So there are a couple things we're going to check. I got a gauge, so we're going to check fuel pressure. So then I'm going to go, I think there's an easy thing back at the filter. So we'll just kind of clamp it on there, see what we get for fuel pressure. If I turn the key on, if I can do this actually. If we turn the key on, get out the Leatherman. One hand, hang on. Good TV. Oh, I didn't take this cap off. There's a little bleeder here. And it does have fuel of sorts. So it's getting something. And when it runs, I did that and it shoots all sorts of gasoline out. Gasoline. So that's going okay. But who knows what the situation is there. So we got to check that. Maybe check, see if it has dirty injectors. Maybe we'll try cleaning the injectors. I don't really know. I got the feelers out there. We'll have to just start systematically checking those things off. The other thing I got was a master cylinder. I think it's the one that's in there is no bueno. I actually never even opened this, so hopefully it's good. It was the cheapest one. Dormant is quality stuff. Oh yeah, this is the old school one. Vintage. But that should work there on this thing. Plop that in there, maybe we can get the brakes going again, do a little bit of welding and carry on. I did order some parts for this thing. I have some ideas, so I'll wait until they all get here, excuse me, and we'll see what you guys think about it. I don't know, this is just kind of a fun project you really can't go wrong with. I have such a small amount of money in it that I don't know. You can't have this kind of fun for such a small amount of money anymore in today's world. So we'll see how it goes. Let's check the fuel pressure and carry on from there. Okay, so let me just show you here. Whoops. Key on. Did it a couple times here. So it has 26 PSI or something like that. After a few key on, key offs, so that's not good. That is after the filter, so I will take it off before the filter. Maybe we have a clogged filter. That'd be wishful thinking. It looks like everything's pretty new under here, so we'll just see. I did put fuel in it. It does have, whatever it was, I don't know if the gauge even works, but I put 5 gallons in. Well, the gauge reads 0. We'll see if when I turn it on, it also reads 0. Okay, so that's probably not an indication it's working. But yeah, I'll pop it off behind real quick. We'll test that again, see if it makes any difference. If not, I assume we have either a clog or something like that. It looks like it's a new tank and it's an external pump. So maybe we'll screw around and put like an internal job in or something along those lines. But at least now we kind of know what the deal is. And for the time being, it does run and drive enough to get in and out of the garage. So we'll test one more time. If we have a difference, I'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll work on something else. Okay, round 2. We're now right off the pump. I'd say no bueno. So, probably should have done this a while ago. I could have ordered a pump and had one here. We'll see what we got going on there, but realistically at this point now, we got ourselves a little Exxon Valdez spill here, so I'll take everything apart, click it all back together, and let it air dry. Because I don't think welding, right, I mean, I'm not a scientist and I'm not the brightest guy, but I'm pretty sure trying to weld up a 4-door to 2-door conversion with a bunch of gas on the ground, that's just not right. Just not right. So, mystery solved. I guess we work the brakes maybe while we're letting it air dry here. I also have gas all over my arm. I really hate that. It's such a terrible feeling. Well, it's just not my day. So I put the master on. We're going to bleed it. And so I give it a push. Slow to come back. And then it pushes fluid out. Push. Slow to come back and it pushes fluid out. So that's not supposed to happen. So it's junk. Pure junk. So I got a beef with Rakato. So order another one of them. Send that one back. Story of my life. Pay the shipping because somehow it was my fault that they sent a bad part. And go from there. So fuel pump bad. Master cylinder bad. Fuel in the ground with welding bad. But Danny made tacos and tacos good. So I think it's taco night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll just start welding this thing back together. At least we have some answers. It's a win, kind of, right? See you tomorrow. Well, it has been a couple of days and a few parts have shown up and a few parts have not. So we're gonna do some welding. Still waiting on the brake master and a few future things which I had purchased did show up, but kind of irrelevant for now. The plan, well, there's a couple of plans. I'll explain that stuff maybe in the next video, but the plan today, we're gonna get this all welded in. Now, what I wanna do, I might just grind this a little bit, but I wanna leave it looking stitched together. So ain't no one gonna be able to fool anyone that this was not a 4-door conversion. We'll do that. We'll probably put a little bit of metal, how far we'll go, maybe make a couple of patch panels on either side. I did spend a few bucks. We're trying to be low buck on this project, and I'm not trying to be the least amount of money possible, but the smartest amount of frugal spending, I guess is the word for it. So the fuel pump was junk on this thing. They're not a lot of money. I'm not a huge fan of the external pumps. I like an internal pump, so I was like, okay, well, I can take it all apart, modify like a Walboro or whatever it is in there, and yada, yada, yada. We need more fuel as we add more boost. So we're gonna do that. But I was like, well, you know, and after I was talking to old Half-Ass there, and he was saying, hey, when you're doing that, you wanna make sure you have a baffled tank or always have a half tank, because when you're really on it and it runs out of fuel, bad things happen to the motor. Then I started thinking, well, I have all that Holley stuff I bought from the Nomad. It was fuel injection, which didn't work out, remember? And I was like, oh, that's great. And my original plan was, oh, I'll just put the tank and everything, ratchet strap it in the trunk. I'm like, maybe I don't do that. So I bought an empty tank from Tanks Inc., or Summit, or whatever it was, and I'm just gonna drop the fuel pump and sender in, which is meant for a Tri-5 Chevy. So the fuel gauge will read properly, all the wiring will be there, the connectors are all there, it's good. Now, the benefit of this tank, it wasn't that much money. A brand new tank, I think it's $200. and this one was $325 or something like that. So an extra 100 and some bucks for a fuel injection tank, which is a ripoff. But everything is set in. The Holley stuff will bolt right in, and I already have all that. So again, not really being cheap, but reusing what I have. The nice part is down here, I don't know if you can really see that, there's a couple of lines, but there's a basket built in here. So when it fills up with fuel and you're sloshing all around, fuel can flow in and out of here, but slowly. So think of like a baffled oil pan or something along those lines. So if you have a half a tank of fuel or less and you're wide open and all the fuel is going to be sloshing, this is the front, all the fuel will be sloshing the back of the tank, it's still holding fuel in this little basket where the fuel pump is. You want to keep that submerged, a little sock and all that. So that should be fine. Hopefully the pump will be good. I did have to trim it. You have to, trim it to fit, but I think a wagon tank is slightly taller, so I actually should be able to take some out. So we'll get on that. But in the meantime, everyone always says, we want to see more work. You talk too much, you talk too much. You're going to see a lot of welding. So buckle yourselves up for that, and we'll get started. So it's going to be tack, 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 blow off with the air gun, carry on, a little bit of grinding, and make some patch panels, weld it all in. We're just going to leave it, patch quilt 56. Should be able to get in there. I might get a little on it. If we put the glass in, it'd be pretty sweet too. It'd get some window urethane. This is going to be a lot of welding. And even though you're like, oh, it's not too bad, you got to think, if it was a quarter panel section, it'd be like 6 feet the whole way. Well, we have to weld the door, top to bottom, down here, across here, all the way across there. Even though it looks like a little patch panel, it's a lot of real estate to be welded. So I'm going to put my headphones in and start welding. Okay, so here's the plan. I'm going to start welding. There's a bit of a gap here. I probably should just make a new rocker. Just talk to myself a little more. I don't know if I'm just going to weld it and leave it like the rough weld, or if I'm going to grind it down after, but for this video, we will start welding it together and see what we end up with. All right, so I'm gonna cut the rocker out. Maybe there. Cut that section out. Got a piece of scrap steel. I'm actually almost out of junk metal. We gotta buy some more. And we'll see if I can just kind of stuff it in there, trace it, cut it, go from there. We'll end up butting it up against what's left of this sill and carry on. So there we have it. I didn't do here. This thing has got a big dent in it. It's going to be what's going to be. Yeah, we got a weld all the way around there. This is just sitting on there. I decided to grind it, so I ground down the edge. It looks good. So now it's a bunch more welding. I got to put an inner rocker in this thing at some point as well. She's a little holy, but this will be fine for now, and then we'll work our way up. I was kind of putting heat to it, and I decided let it cool off and work down here. So I think that's what I'll do now. We'll get this welded in, and I'll go between welding that and maybe up there. Get that all kind of ground down, and we'll save this for last. Weld that, and go in and have some supper, come back out, weld it, and we got just a little bit to finish up at the top, but that's pretty much that. I got in here, had a bit of a gap, so filled her in, but that'll be hidden by carpet and a sill plate once I find one. And there you go. The other side, the sill's not as bad, just a little, maybe a 6 or 8 inch section, hopefully. That's nice strong metal. I can't believe this section of Tri-5 Chevys always rots out, and it's solid the whole way around, which is amazing. So, buckle up, more welding. So you want a 2-door Tri-5 Chevy. This is the reality of it. 2.5 hours of welding. And we're only halfway done. Wow, not even, we still gotta finish this. So we have a whammo in here, but I mean this obviously side of the car had a whatever. So we could knock that out or do whatever. It's got a bit of a, well, I don't know how well it'll show up, but for what we're accomplishing and the fact that we're trying to kind of show its scars, which is kind of fun, this is where we're gonna end up. There obviously is kind of a low spot. Let's see or not, you know, because where the door is and where the skin is, it's quite a gap. So it's whatever. Up in here is where I don't know what I'm gonna do. To weld all that in, it's gonna be a lot of welding. The factories had like seam sealer kind of stuff in there, so we got it tacked up and ugly ground down. But that's pretty much that. We have our little sill plate in. Got to grind in there yet, but it's pretty much there. I think what I'll do is go work on the other side after supper. So I'm hungry and all the batteries are dead. And then we'll do the other side. It doesn't have as much rust to do, but I hope anyways, I say that, famous last words. I stopped probably 20 minutes ago, it's kind of hung out. We don't have any fires or nothing like that. The headliner's all good, nothing smoking. This side, usually there's always one side's easier than the other, so who knows. This one actually fits a little better. Laziness, or maybe I tried harder on that one. What we got going on there? No, it's pretty tight gaps. That shouldn't be too bad. It rusted out in a different spot, so it needs like a little patch right there. We may do that at a later date, just kind of weld it up to there and kind of keep carrying on, because there's only so much welding I want to do, and I'm sure you guys want to watch even less of it. But this is the reality of a two-door conversion. It's very simple, very time consuming. Fortunately, if your time, much like my time, is worthless, you can spend a bunch of time out here and make yourself kind of a cool hot rod. So yeah, we'll keep going on that. I don't know if I should maybe just weld this in, leave that there for now, do something fun, like put the fuel tank in and maybe have this thing run and actually run and drive, if we have not done that yet. That is a whole other kettle of fish, because the transmission's weak and we got a few other things to do in the next video, or at least explain then. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna go have a break. Danny's making tacos. Oh, I really butchered this cut too, eh? Jeez, buddy. So we'll be back in maybe an hour or so and get that done. Back at it. So here's the plan. I forgot to empty the SD card of the camera. So it has 48 minutes of footage. We'll see what we can accomplish in 48 minutes. I'm gonna weld. Now what I'm not gonna do is weld the bottom of the door, patch panel, to the rocker. We have quite a bit of gap there, which we knew, because obviously as you're tightening up the gap backwards and tightening up the gap topwards, you get more gap down the bottomwards. You know, it's all very technical. Looks like there's probably a little bit of filler in there. And up here is junk. And honestly, the junkness goes back to there, what we see. So odds are it's probably back to there before we're solid metal. There's actually a lot of filler in there. But this is all solid back there. So I'm thinking, I don't have any metal, so I gotta get some more tomorrow. But I'll probably just zip that there, do a little measuring, put it in the brake, give it a, you know, it's not quite a 90, it's a little bit open. And then we can weld down there, cross there, and then in there. Save us a bunch of time, and ultimately, yeah, save a bunch of heat and screwing around and all that. This is actually quite a bit nicer than the other side, fits a lot better. So we'll set the camera up, get that done. Tomorrow, I'll weld in that rocker if I remember to get some steel after work. And then I'd like to put the fuel pump and tank and all that in, get it wired up, hopefully pretty easily, and see if this thing runs a little bit more properly before we go ahead and spend any real more money on it. Again, so this thing did run, well, it still runs, poorly, and the master's actually supposed to show up tomorrow. Man. And if we get that in there, it would have brakes, everything would be kind of welded together, and then it would run and drive, which would be pretty sweet in theory. And then, yeah, bolt seats down, we can actually enjoy this thing for winter. Well, there we have it. I gave her a quick grind. I was just kind of cleaning up and screwing around a little bit, so everything's all cool to touch. Nothing's on fire. We should be good. I'll probably, oh, it's hard to tell. I'll probably put another little weld in there because it was kind of just, you know, fill her in a little filler rod. Grind that down. We'll deal with the rocker and whatnot tomorrow, but yeah, kind of has the desired look. I know it doesn't look much different, but ugly tacked together in person, it sure looks a lot more complete. And ultimately, I mean, it's at this point it's ready for filler if that's the way you kind of want to go, or however much more you want to kind of fix up. But that's what we're, I think, going to leave it. I'm telling you guys, these little lifts, people are always, oh, they're dangerous and this and that. Any lift's dangerous if you're an idiot, let's be honest. But these little body shop scissor lifts, if you have it all, you know, the car situated properly and you're careful and all that, and really you're not under it a whole lot, it's so handy for this. Working at whatever level you want to be. I think I paid $1,500 for this thing off Marketplace. People are always asking me what the brand is. No idea. It was painted black. It had all sorts of junk all over it. I think they're like $3,000, $3,500 new Canadian. If you got like bad back or whatever, or you're just doing lots of stuff, spend the money. Anyway, be back tomorrow. This fell over and got all smashed up. Story of my life, brand new stuff. Ooh. So we'll hopefully get the fuel system dialed together tomorrow, finish the little rocker patch, and I'd like this thing to run properly. So if it would run, then we can go ahead and spend more money on it. But until then, we gotta make sure the motor's good and all that. Apparently it was overheated a few times and all those sort of issues. And LS motors are a dime a dozen. It's not the end of the world to find another one, but well, whatever, I guess. Whatever we do to it's all the same, whatever motor it goes on. So I'll see you guys tomorrow yet again, and we'll hopefully have this thing running. I should probably look for fittings and stuff because I'm not gonna have any of them. I'm gonna grab that tank right now. See you tomorrow. All right, let's knock this out real quick. Grinding and welding before fuel. All right. Well, there we have it. So it needs to be tied in on the inside yet, but good enough for now. No more rusty. It's amazing. So the plan is, well, it's up in the air. We'll drain the fuel out and drop the tank. Now, this is a brand-ish new tank. Actually, I remember talking to Brent when he was doing this, and I recommend everybody, if you're gonna put a Tri-5 tank in, even if it's a 5 or a 6, the 57 tank has a drain plug in it. So always get a 57 tank. They're same as far as I'm concerned. The drain plug just makes for stuff like this much nicer. So I'm going to, what's that? Struggle with the Scepter gasoline tank. We'll drain it, we'll pull it off real quick, and I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do off the car. It should be a rather simple procedure. I think, so I brought the tank in from the station wagon. I'm pretty sure everything will just transfer over to that tank, and we might have to shorten a few things or do a little mess around. I may have to download some instructions, but we should be dialed, and then slap that back in there. And then I did go spend a few dollars at the speed shop today. I have some of that left over. I use this push lock fuel injection line all the time. It's simple, it's not very cheap, but it's very simple. I have a few connectors and stuff. I use it for fuel line, transmission line, whatever. It just makes life easy. So I spent a few more dollars on some fittings, and fittings are a rip-off. There's no way around it. The way this was done was using factory stuff. So we're going to tie in about half of it, leave it alone. The other half just from the tank to the fuel filter will be modified with the expensive stuff, but you can do whatever you want. If you want to be cheap, by all means be cheap. This is just simple and easy, so that's why I did it. So I'll see you after I'm covering fuel up to my elbows. So here's the setup. This is the tank. It's a brand new tank. Looks to be probably a brand new sender. Hard to tell, this thing lived in the country, but looks like it's, I mean, you know, pretty sweet. That's a win for me because tri-pipe fuel tanks are always in demand. So a tank with a sender is probably, you know, a few $100s. So we'll put this in the shed and we will use it. So yeah, the setup of this actually is kind of neat. So it had external pump would go up, LS, and then their return system, and then just you know, a little piece welded on here, tap, and a little bung. Obviously that's kind of low pressure. And that was the deal. That's how it circulated. This sat where those two washers are. And basically, I think it was, I guess it must have been kind of like here-ish, like kind of in the middle of the tank. So this is junk as far as I'm concerned, but this is like a F-150 external fuel injected late 80s, early 90s, I guess, maybe pump or something like that. Now I know fuel pumps do not like to be above the fuel, they like to be below the fuel, so it's kind of, once you get it siphoned in, it's kind of forcing itself in. And as you can see, the way the fuel line in, it went down and up and around and did kind of something like that. So maybe it kind of was working a little harder. Pumps like to push, not suck. So, fuel pumps anyways. So I assume maybe that's what happened, just kind of got a little tired and it's lazy, or maybe it just lost some suction. There's a bunch of things, but it's irrelevant for what we're gonna do. We'll need more fuel anyways. So this will be garbage. This will go into stock, and we'll go from there. This thing's actually, you know, the trunk's nice. They always rot in the back here. It's actually all the way across is good. Under where the tank was is good. There's just a couple of holes right there at the bottom of the well, but a lot of guys just cut that out and patch over it. They always tend to rust along here on the wheel wells and all that, so it's a pretty decent little Tri-5. Other than it's yellow. Couldn't be more ugly because it's yellow. Oh, it has one patch there with the rear shock pushed through the floor a little, but meh, that'll happen to these things. So we get this out, about a jerry can and a half came out, it's like 7 gallons. I think these are only 15 or 16 gallons, so half tank of fuel is in it. So I put fuel in it just in case maybe the pump wasn't happy for some reason, but obviously that was not the case. So we'll pull these tanks up and I'll kind of start stripping it apart and show you what we got working with here. And we'll use the car as a bench, of course. So this here is what we're working with. The old tank of the Nomad that we didn't end up using. So there's two things here. Essentially the Holly is overly complicated, but this is the sender and that is the pump. So there's a straw that goes to the bottom, there's a pump at the bottom. Now as you can clearly see, this is much taller, so everything will have to be kind of shortened a little bit. We'll have to see what the instructions say about that. But it's very simple. Well, this must be the sender and this must be the pump on this one. It's switched on the wagon, but that should be fine. These do have the screws. It's kind of like a Dodge flywheel or something like that. It only kind of fits one way, so obviously you want the lines facing outwards. So I believe it says R for return, send, vent, and then that's our float, and we got our power here, so we'll snip into that and put some, well, it's actually not crazy, put 12 gauge wire. I think what's in there will probably run. Then what we'll have to do we'll tie into the return for that, and we'll put a new line. I'll run it right to the filter. I got some fittings and stuff like that. We'll probably just leave the sender and all that, the wire hanging for now, and slap her all in. So again, the tank itself was actually relatively cheap. I think it was only an extra $100 over a stock tank. And as you guys heard from the last clip, it went in the front. So this now, that's why it has a dual sender and all that kind of deal. So that should be pretty slick. It does have the basket in there, so it'll hold it. When I bought this setup, I did buy the kind of more over the top tank. So Holly offers two, I think one's a 250 liter per hour and one's a 400. So this the 400 is what I have. So it's a bigger pump, and it's supposed to hold up to 700 horsepower, which is like the absolute tippy top end of what we would ever try and accomplish with this, as far as I'm concerned. And if we ever decide we want to put more power in, it's literally 2 straps and then the pump out, and then put a different pump on the bottom, or dual pump, wherever the heck they end up doing, and put it back in. So should be fine with what we're doing. We'll set the camera up. We'll start taking all this stuff out. The kit did come with new hardware and gaskets. Or the tank, I should say, sorry. Oh, that's the vent. So you'll, where'd it go? So this has just a rollover deal. So when you put it in, you hold it like that, and then when it flips over, it won't let fuel leak out. So that's kind of important to have if you care about rollover safety. It has, yeah, a new drain plug, new gaskets, and a little O-ringed kind of deal. So should be simple. We'll take this out, we'll start working on it, and see what we have to do to modify it over here.
Name the wasp.
Frig off, wasp. Okay. So we got everything apart. So this is our float system. Very simple, obviously, full and empty. We'll have to adjust. There's a couple screws here. So you lift it up and down. You gotta just make sure. What you gotta do? Well, there's some sort of measurement there. We'll have to do a little mathematicals. I gotta Google that on how it's set up. And this is the pump. So this should all fit in there. Ultimately, what we have to do is shorten this feed line. So, and there's not gonna be much. Hopefully it'll all be good. So this sock is kind of just barely sitting on the bottom, or just a little bit off, like a, I don't know, 1/8 inch or something like that. So that's where your fuel comes in, goes to the original sock, and we'll put that float in. It'll do its own thing. I believe what the instructions are. This is the tanks in my black car. You put a straight edge, you measure down, let's just say it's like 7 inches, just as a EG. Well, then from the bottom to there, you'll want it to be like 6 7/8 or something along those lines, just so it's not right on the bottom. And that is about it. This one, there was something here we had to do with trim the end. I forget what all happened there, so I'll have to download that. But maybe it's fine for what I have here. I'm not really too sure, but I have to adjust the height. But again, that's very simple too. Kind of pops in there and does the thing. We'll loosely mount the tank. We'll run some fuel lines. We'll dump a jerry can of fuel in here and see if it fixes the problem, or if we just waste a bunch of time and money, also known as the DD Speed Shop way. So we'll go do this. I did this like 2 or 3 times on that Nomad, so if you have any questions about that, you can go back to those videos, or please go watch somebody who knows what they're doing. Because I originally hooked it up backwards. I hooked the fuel pump up on the return side, and I didn't notice it, but all the viewers did, and I had to take the tank out, and to take the tank out of a Tri-5 wagon, you have to pull the rear end out, and it was, well, I handled it swimmingly, I guess would be the word for it, right? So yeah, I'll take this apart, put it together. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown of what we did here. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for who it's for. So you measure the tank, and this one, oh, I got my luscious hair in my mouth. This side was like 6 1/4 because there's a basket, and where the sender was about 6 1/2. So you need those measurements. So where the fuel pump is, 6 1/4, you take out whatever the heck it said a little bit. So we measure from the base to basically about where the kind of sock's going to be. That's right 6 inches there. So we get just a little bit. That'll be fine. And there's also going to be a gasket on there. So you can see that'll fit in, be perfect. New gasket. The sender took a little bit of mathematicals, and unfortunately, this comes with a bunch of little levers and arms and stuff like that, and somebody threw that out at some point. How about that America thumbnail though? Anyway, you do the same thing, you measure the bottom, so it's 6.5. Now you want to have is the pivot exactly halfway in the tank, which makes a lot of sense, right? So what this will do is it'll still read full and empty, but what I'm assuming is going to happen is that the way it like, you know, some cars sit on quarter for a long time or sit on 3/4 for a long time or something like that. It'll probably do something along those lines. So from basically where the gasket's going to be to where the sender is, we're 3.5, and being that 6.5, we'd probably want that to be 6.25. So I don't know how exact that exactly has to be. So there's different little pieces on the back you can put, so the sender just slides up and down. That's all we can do. For the float, you simply take it had a, oh, it's on my phone. It gives you a measurement, so whatever your float depth is, you trim it. So it's 4.25 on this. So we just did that and took some out. I put the piece somewhere. I don't know where I did with it. It's gone.
The piece of the float?
Oh, there it is. Look at your young eyes. So we took that much of the float out and just kind of moved it over. And I don't know what I did with the, oh, here's the hose. Here's how much hose I kind of took off.
All of it?
There was a fair bit, but I mean, you can see the tank depth as to where that was and where this was. It's pretty obvious. I mean, I guess really all I probably had to do was measure the difference between here and subtract them instead of Googling it. But so we'll put the new gaskets, which I did what with exactly? Yep. We'll find the new gaskets. We'll put those on. We'll put those in very simple. What I probably will do is I'll make a couple of lines, long ones that I'll trim, and you just kind of put them on, well, it's all kind of out, because you got to think the trunk floor is right here. This is a very dumb design, I will say. So the trunk floor goes right across here, and this is going to be obviously sunk flush back here. This is where the lines come out. Well, there ain't no way to get a wrench in there. It's very dumb. But you know what? Tanks Inc. and Holly both didn't call me when they were making this, so I can't be too upset. And we'll make sure we hook a vent line up, and then we put the tank in. We'll let it hang and do whatever we got to do. But yeah, it'd be cool if this thing would just run.
You want me to do it for you?
Make it run?
Yeah.
Yeah. Will it run? Oh, here we go. Look at that new hardware. Put this jazz on, and we'll hook some lines up, and really we'll fast forward to the end where I'm either winning or crying. Maybe we just need a small block Chevy in here. Eh? Scene.
People want to watch you work. You do too much talking.
I know.
So let's just watch you put on these gaskets. Give the people what they want.
This is so much more work for me to edit after the fact now. I have to edit all your talking out and stuff. There's a lot of it, and I got a pitch match and all sorts of craziness with you.
That's a lie.
They don't give you, they just, why is this so freaking tight? Oh, this hose clamp might be a situation worth wearing. Oh, it's in there before. What is going on here? You know what? The return doesn't need this. Just see what happens. Friggin' tight. The other one, like the pump would kind of move around a little. This is not the plan here. This is all stuff that really, they absolutely say not to do, but we'll say it's fine. There we go. Just like the instructions said. Oh, I've got the hose clamps not working out for me here. Oh, there we go, there we go. This will be easy to fix on the side of the road. What is caught here? You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push on this. I'm gonna slice my finger on the sharp metal hose clamp. This is what a flathead's for, not for a fastening, but for prying. What? There we go. There we go. Perfect. Don't pinch the wires. Okay. And there you go. Actually, it's floating in there, so that's mint. I'll do this one now. Might as well do the whole show while we're at it. Well, this is done. I got her. I got her. Is this the right gasket? Made in Taiwan, it says. This one should be simpler. Nope. How is that gonna go in? I need a tool. See, these are usually it just gets edited out. No need to watch any of this. If I had the instructions, I'm willing to bet it says trim off excess so it fits in tank. I remember this was a fiasco on the Nomad. It's a fiasco on I did your car. Okay, close your eyes. Perfect. Put that piece in the glove box. We need it. Get some of this metal off so it doesn't get jammed in the pump. Eh? Did I bend something? Oh, I put it in. Oh, there we go. No, there we go. Ta-da! An easy installation with DD Speed Shop. Son of a... You know... Try and spend some money, doesn't work your way. You try and save some money, doesn't go your way. That right there is way she goes. Okay. A couple of screws and we'll be dialed. Last step. So we put the lines on. I just have this as one big loop, and obviously we'll cut it to fit. Marked it for feed. That's all tight. So return feed. We got a vent. This may not be long enough, but we can barb it and carry on. That's pretty much ready to go. I might just spin that around so we have a little bit more length. These are cut. It's pretty simple, so we should be able to kind of slide it into place. You know, kind of put the straps up, let it just kind of dangle a little bit loose, and start seeing what we got to do for plumbing, which I don't think will be a whole lot of work, but you never know. So yeah, we'll get this thing in, see where we end up. All the confidence in the world, but I haven't let down before by myself. DD Speed Shop. Well, put a little fuel in this thing. I put one jerry can in. I want to put another one, a premium. We put in some seafoam, because you know that stuff's good. I did key it after the first jerry can. Didn't have any leaks, so I thought we'll give this thing the best chance it can. See if it's going to leak or any of those things. So fill her up and. Fingers crossed. The fuel pump kicked on, so in theory I think it should run. Well, initial leak, drop on the ground. Did I crush this? Oh, we're good. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. I spilled a little bit of gas, but that's fine. Just key her on. Neighbor's truck there. That's 3. Don't hear or see nothing. Ready? fixed. There we have it. It runs. It's very quiet. One thing that's kind of weird, and this might be me, it hunts up and down on RPM when I have the mass air hooked up. Kind of goes up and down. So it's maybe no bueno. Well, maybe it's okay. I don't know. It runs good enough for what we're gonna do to this hot rod, as far as I'm concerned. Shut her down. Perfect. So the plan is, well, I'll explain what the whole plan is next video, but that's really it for now. The next video, we're gonna change the brake master. It actually showed up today, so I gotta clean up in here. I'm trying to work clean, you know? You guys are holding me to it. Put all this garbage away. Next video, seats in. I don't know if I'm gonna use these high backs or I wanna use the low backs. We'll see. Seats in. I like to put the back glass in, so I don't know what I'm gonna do, if I do a little more welding up in here or what. But back glass in and glued. It'd be nice to get everything welded before I put the glass in, you know what I mean? Get that dialed. No, they're not gonna roll up and down. I don't care. Get the glass in, get the brake master, and get the seats in, then it's enough to drive. If it has brakes, double check out lights and whatnot, obviously, but we can finally take it for a ride around the block, tell you what I'm gonna do with it, and then kind of go from there, and then obviously we're going to rip this thing into a bazillion pieces and do something I've never done before, but the internet is full of experts, so luckily it'll be just fine. But I'm arguing to say this is probably the cheapest LS swapped 2-door 56 Tri-5 Chevy on the planet, or at least in my garage on a Thursday night in Manitoba in September. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys continue to like these 2-door conversions. Some people say that they've seen enough of them, yet a lot of people watch them. So I enjoy doing them, and I'm going to carry on. We have one of every year, so I don't know what I'm going to do next. Maybe this is the bucket list we've accomplished with 2-dooring Tri-5 Chevys. But make sure you comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It makes a world of difference for myself and allows me to keep horsing around the internet and putting out there to be judged by a couple 100,000 of my favorite friends. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow when we're driving this thing. Driving a lemon on the road.